ഹലോ സ്ട്രീം തുടങ്ങിയോ? അയ്യോ. ഹലോ ഹായ് ഹായ് ഗായ്സ്. വെൽക്കം ടു സ്ട്രീം. ഇന്ന് കുറച്ച് ലേറ്റ് ആയെന്ന് അറിയാം. വേറെ ഒന്നുമല്ല, ഞാൻ എനിവേസ് ഞാൻ എന്താ പറയാൻ വന്നെന്ന് മറന്നു. എനിവേസ് ഇന്നത്തെ ടൈറ്റിൽ എന്തോന്നാണ്? ഫോൾ മീ വൺസ്. യെസ്, വേറെ ഒന്നുമല്ല. ഇന്ന് രാവിലെ ഞാൻ എഴുന്നേറ്റപ്പോഴേക്കും പ്രിട്ടി മച്ച് ഞാൻ രാവിലെ നേരത്തെ ആയിരുന്നു എഴുന്നേറ്റത്. എന്താ ഫോർ സം റീസൺ വിയർഡ്ലി എഴുന്നേറ്റ് ഓഫീസിൽ പോകാൻ വേണ്ടിയൊക്കെ ഉടുപ്പൊക്കെ മാറി വന്ന് ഇറങ്ങിയത് മഴ. സോ പ്രിട്ടി മച്ച് ഇതിപ്പോൾ മൂന്നാമത്തെ പ്രാവശ്യമാണ് ഞാൻ ഇറങ്ങിയിട്ട് മഴ കൊണ്ടിട്ട്. ബസ്സിൽ കയറുമ്പോൾ മഴ തീർന്നിട്ട് പിന്നെ കംപ്ലീറ്റ് വെയിലായിരുന്നു ഓഫീസ് എത്തുന്നവരെ. ലൈക്ക് വൈ ആ വൺ മോമെന്റ് ബാംബൂസിൽ എന്തിനാ? എനിവേസ് വേറൊന്നും ഇല്ല, അത്രേ ഉള്ളൂ. അതുകൊണ്ട് അപ്പോൾ മീ വൺസ് എന്നിട്ടത് ജസ്റ്റ് ഒരു ആംബിഗസ് ടൈറ്റിലാവാൻ വേണ്ടിയിട്ട്. ഫസ്റ്റ് ബ്ലഡ് കിൽ എനിമീസ്, ഫസ്റ്റ് ബ്ലഡ് കിൽ എനിമീസ്. ഫസ്റ്റ് ബ്ലഡ് കിൽ എനിമീസ്. നമുക്ക് ഇത് യൂട്യൂബ് ഇങ്ങനെ വിയേർഡ് ഇതൊക്കെ തരുന്നത്. എനിവേസ് പാക്കറ്റ്. എനിവേസ് വീസയിൽ ആൾക്കാരൊക്കെ ഉണ്ടെന്ന് തോന്നുന്നു. സോ ഐ ഗസ് ഒന്ന് കയറി നോക്കാം. മിക്കവാറും ഇത് കളിക്കുന്നുണ്ട്, ഡെസ്റ്റിനി കളിക്കുന്നുണ്ട്. മെഡ്ഗോഡ് പണിയിലായിരിക്കും. സോ എനിവേസ് ഞാനിപ്പോൾ കയറുക. 3, 2, 1. ഹലോ.
7 മണിക്ക് വിളിക്കണമായിരുന്നു അല്ലേ? ഐ മീൻ 6 മണിക്ക് വിളിക്കണമായിരുന്നു തോന്നുന്നു.
ഏജയ്ക്ക് എന്ത് പറ്റി?
ആക്ച്വലി ആൻറ്റി ചെറുതായിരുന്നു.
വാവ്, കോട്ട് ഓൺ ക്യാമറ ബോക്സ്. എനിവേസ്
Relax. I've already sorted everything. യെസ്, കുറച്ചും എത്തിയതേ ഉള്ളൂ.
എൻജോയിങ് ഓഫീസ്.
ഐ മീൻ പണിയുണ്ട്, ബട്ട് ഡുവബിൾ ആണ്. ഇപ്പം ഞാൻ ഇരുന്ന് മറ്റേ ഫ്രീ കോഡ് ക്യാമ്പിൽ നിന്ന് 2-3 കോഴ്സസ് ചെയ്യുന്നുണ്ട്. സോ ഐ ഗെസ് നോട്ട് സോ ബാഡ്. എൻ്റെ ചാർജർ എവിടെ?
I was told you are all the best. That is why I'm here.
Purchase items from armory അല്ലേ?
Can someone get caution here? Caution here. Thank you.
Placing sentry. Alarm bot out.
Enemy spotted A.
Nature girl down.
Going C.
Here.
On my way.
Bot coming back. Bot coming back.
Spike planted.
On my way. Here.
Enemy spot C. Got 3. Turret out. For you.
Last player standing.
Ah.
One enemy remaining.
Killjoy, don't overthink it. Sometimes you just need to hit them with explosives.
മനുഷ്യന് ചത്തോ എന്താണ്?
People die when they are killed. അറിയാറിയോ?
Turret out.
Let us hunt.
Get out of my way.
Going A. Enemy spotted A.
Shadows.
Enemy there they are.
My ultimate is ready.
Careful. Right here.
Recalling my bot.
There.
Bomb buddy out.
Last player standing. Spike planted.
Variable removed.
One enemy remaining.
3.
ആപ്പേരെ കൊന്നു. Nice.
Prepare yourselves. We fight once again.
People die when they are killed അല്ലേ?
Placing sentry.
അയ്യോ
അന്ന് തെറ്റി പണിയൊക്കെ പെട്ടെന്ന് തുറന്നു. അതോ
Placing alarm bot.
അറിയുന്നില്ല.
വാവ്. സിനിമ എങ്ങനെ ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു? അയ്യോ.
ഹോസ്പിറ്റലായ
There they are.
ഹെവി
Right here.
വിഷ്വൽ മാസ്റ്റർ പീസ്.
Enemy down.
വിഷ്വൽ എലി.
Enemy removed.
Spike planted. One enemy remaining.
My ultimate is ready.
This fight is diffused.
Reloading. Placing swamp grenade.
Last round in the half.
Last round to use our creds and abilities. Don't waste your firepower. Placing sentry. Alarm bot out.
That brimstone's just sparks.
Initiated.
Spike down, C.
Cover going out.
40,
Area's clear.
30.
ഇത് ഡെസ്റ്റിനി കളിക്കുന്നു.
Bomb buddy out.
12.
Enemy spotted C. There.
Prepare for hellfire.
Satchel out.
Nine,
Enemy spotted C.
8, 7.
No chance.
Spike planted.
Right here.
Seven, 6.
Stealing sight. Shadows.
Last player standing.
5.
Switching sides.
Strike at their weak points. If one link breaks, the rest will follow.
Reloading. Placing alarm bot. We go.
3, 2, 1. Okay, done.
Turn out. Reloading. Found them. Here.
Last player standing. Spike down.
ഒരു ടോട്ടോ
A.
ഗെയിം ആയല്ലോ ബോയ്സ്.
ഞാൻ ഡെയിലി ചെയ്ത് വരാം. മഗ്ഗോഡില്ലല്ലോ, മഗ്ഗോഡ് പണിയെടുക്കുമല്ലേ.
മറുപടി
Match
മിക്കവാറും
point.
No one beats my
Hey, my
firepower.
God, bag
I
is
got
there,
this.
ഔട്ട് ഓഫ് റിട്ടയർമെന്റ്.
Tactics beat firepower. Use that.
Grenade.
Caution here.
Cover going out.
Scanning ahead.
Out of target.
Go.
Here.
Reloading.
Last player standing. Defenders win.
ഓ ഇന്ന് ഊബിസോഫ്റ്റിന്റെ ആണല്ലേ, ക്യാപ്കോം ഊബിസോഫ്റ്റിന്റെ. ഓ ലെറ്റ്സ് ഗോ. ഹോപ്പ്ഫുള്ളി സം ഗുഡ് ഗെയിംസ്. ഹോപ്പ്ഫുള്ളി.
ഞാൻ എന്റെ ഹോപ്പ് തന്നെ ഞാൻ വെക്കണം. ഒന്നും സ്കോപ്പ് ചെയ്യാനല്ലോ.
Wow. I mean, they can still surprise us, right?
Ubisoft surprise.
I know, but still. Like,
Yeah.
Dota കളിക്കുന്നുണ്ടോ?
നടക്കോടെ നീ നടക്കോടെ.
ഇവിടെ അങ്ങ് പോയി ഡോട്ട കളിക്കുന്നുണ്ടോന്ന് പറഞ്ഞപ്പോ.
പണി എടുക്കണ
Wow.
ആ പോടോ മയിലേ.
കൊള്ളാളിയാ പോകാൻ പറയണ എടുത്ത്.
പോടാ ഇവിടെ.
പണിയാണ്ട് കളയാ.
പോടാ.
Oh. ഞാൻ സ്റ്റീം ഓൺ ആക്കിയില്ല അല്ലേ?
എണീട്ടോ? ഓ
വാ, നീ ഡോട്ട് കളിക്കണം എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞു. നീ ഡെസ്റ്റിനിയിലാണല്ലോ.
നീ ആരും ഇല്ല ഇപ്പൊ കളിക്കാൻ.
ഓക്കെ, ഞാൻ തിരിച്ച് വാലറന്റിൽ പോട്ടെ.
So, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. When I made that poll a couple weeks back asking which movie you wanted me to follow up the Shrek 2 video with, I was kind of banking on Shark Tale winning, because over the past year or so while making my YouTube poops, I've kind of become an expert on this movie. I mean, I don't want to brag or anything, but... Wait, no, I really don't want to brag. What the hell am I saying? Shark Tale is hot garbage, but it is hot garbage that I am very intimate with. But truth be told, I kind of blocked Shrek the Third out of my memory a long time ago, and I've never revisited it. The general consensus is that this is the worst Shrek, by a landslide. Everyone says that because the movie's not funny, and also, the jokes are bad. And its attempts at humor fall flat.
Big fan.
And wait, why else do people hate this movie again? Like, everyone agrees that this movie is bad and unfunny, but no one ever seems to talk about why it's bad. Except Jack's folks, who actually made a really good video about why this movie fails. And I'd like to go a bit deeper. There's actually a lot more layers to unravel about this movie than I first thought before rewatching it. It is just a colossal failure on so many levels, and in my humble, more or less factual opinion, this movie marked the point where the Shrek franchise stopped being a phenomenon and became a joke. Without this movie, we wouldn't have gotten this.
Pinocchio!
Strap yourselves in, girls and girls. We're talking about why Shrek the Third is a cinematic disaster. Let's do it. Well, I guess there's no better place to start than by judging Shrek the Third by the criteria I laid out for a perfect in the previous movie. It'll be fun, right?
Yeah, fun.
Maybe it'll get one of them
Spike
right?
rush.
Okay, let's
See
get
you in
this
the front
over
lines,
with.
Phoenix.
Expanding
Save
the
some minutes for me.
universe. Let's see. Fiona has a cousin. That's cool. They go on a ship and it sails in the morning. And there's a high school. That's what Shrek the Third adds. There's no real new insight learned about the world. The location is just carried over from Shrek 2. And I guess we learned that Donkey went to high school?
Man, I haven't been on a since college.
And college? What? Leaving an undeniable impact on the franchise. I usually save this one for last, but the answer here is pretty short, obvious, and underwhelming. No, Shrek the Third does not impact the franchise. It kind of feels like a side story, if anything. It's like the big forehead man said.
There's no point. It serves no purpose. Shrek 4 recaps everything perfectly with the baby montage.
I literally can't explain it any better than that. This is a Cars 2 kind of sequel, where its successor doesn't acknowledge its existence, and its only additions
One enemy remaining.
are really stupid. Continuing the story and
Last player
introducing
standing.
new compelling themes. Shrek the Third picks up in a semi-natural way from the last movie. Like, I think it's a good idea to have King Harold die and Shrek have to deal with being king, something he's clearly not cut out for. However, the idea that Shrek has to go on this quest and find this one guy with a claim to the throne is just kind of dumb. There's really no other solution to your problem, Shrek. Like, if you're the king, why don't you just abolish the monarchy and establish a constitutional democracy? I'm sure your subjects would enjoy not being subjugated all the time. What if there was an election of sorts? Hey, wait a minute. That was what the early version of Shrek 2 was going to be about. Director Andrew Adamson rejected it because it was more intellectual than emotional. Clearly the right choice for Shrek 2 because it's a mostly driven story with its best attributes. But why not revive the idea for this movie? It probably would have been much more creative. You could really play up the satire. I mean, these movies came out when this guy was in office. You could have a field day in the writer's room. And besides, even if you're concerned this movie will be more intellectual than emotional, the Shrek 2 we got was not intellectual or emotional. So at least we get one of the two, am I right? Truth be told, even though I adore the themes of identity and self-worth, I don't think they necessarily need to be carried over to this one. Shrek in this movie is loved by society and Fiona, and I think that's okay. Shrek
One enemy remaining.
learning to love himself, but he still needs something, I guess. So being a dad it is. Again, that's a natural way to progress the story. I feel like you could get a ton of
30
good drama.
seconds left.
The problem is the everything.
Last player standing.
118. Wow.
Babies are cute, but they're definitely not for everyone. And I certainly have no trouble believing that Shrek will be a little worried about being a father. You know, presuming he doesn't eat his own young. Sorry, sometimes when I'm talking about a bad movie for too long, I feel the need to quote a good movie. It's my coping mechanism. So in the last movie, Shrek was afraid of losing Fiona. This movie gets that across through good dialogue and contemplation. At one point, he flips through Fiona's diary and the words Mrs. Fiona Charming echo through his head, haunting him, feeding into his worst fears. It's kind of nerve-wracking, actually. This movie takes his fears very seriously.
Last round before the
So how does Shrek the Third compare?
Nah, dude.
Shrek is a nightmare where there's just an avalanche of babies. Too many babies. Just so many babies. Oh boy.
Too many of them.
Then he's naked at a high school and there's babies. And he wakes up and Donkey is a baby. Now that's what I call good, compelling drama that dissects the inner fears of our main character. Shrek the Third pretty much plays Shrek's fear of being a parent, mostly for laughs. And when it doesn't, it's on the nose in the most painful way possible.
Save me!
Got a monster like
Bro, we can't.
specialist.
Get it? Because Shrek is also a monster who is gonna have kids. Do you get it? Get it. Then there's an incredible man forces everyone to look into the fire of truth for literally no other reason than exposition. We need to remind the audience, hey, Shrek doesn't want to be a dad. Let's make him look into the fire of truth and see a baby carriage. We're so smart. On top of that, they try and force this father-son-ish connection between Shrek and Justin Timberlake for some bizarre
30
reason.
seconds left.
Like, apparently the movie thinks ogre babies are comparable to some human teenager. I don't know what these writers were smoking. Oh wait, yeah, I do. They put what they were smoking in the script.
Revealing area.
Anyway, back to Shrek and JT. So there's a scene where Shrek tells this kid, can't you see I don't want you anymore? Just get out of here, you
10
stupid dumb
seconds
animal.
left.
So JT leaves, and Prince Charming says,
Nice one, bro.
Quick question. Was that a jab at Shrek being a dad? Because again, these things are not comparable. Also, I don't look at this kid and immediately think child. This is a child. JT could be in college for all we know. He's out going to job interviews, joining some clubs, playing Smash Bros, writing a review of Shrek the Third on a Friday night instead of going out because his friends are doing he knows that any attempt to go to a party and meet people will backfire because he lacks basic social skills and is too intimidated to even start talking to other people he doesn't know without someone else there to initiate the conversation.
Go, man.
You know, that's what he looks like. He is not a child, you stupid Prince Charming. You're an embarrassment to cinematic villains everywhere. Which brings us to... So in all honesty, I kind of have mixed thoughts about the idea of Prince Charming.
left.
On the one hand, sure, it makes narrative sense and the character's motivations completely line up. He's a spoiled brat entitled to a throne far, far away. So it makes sense that he tries to usurp the throne. But on the other hand, he's a spoiled brat. He's not really a compelling villain, he's just kind of pathetic. Lord Farquaad was also kind of pathetic. He ultimately didn't have much of a presence in the first film. At least he served as a legitimate threat to Shrek and Fiona's blooming romance. He served a vital purpose to the dramatic crux of the story. Charming did that too, but in the second movie. And even then, it was mostly Fairy's godmother's manipulations that gave him a more sinister presence. In the third movie, he doesn't serve as a wedge to Shrek and Fiona. He doesn't have anxieties about becoming a father. Other than...
Okay,
my arms are good. We can go.
Yeah, no, good try movie, but that's a joke right there. And not a fun one. Ultimately, however, Charming does serve his role as an antagonist passively. He's not good or compelling, but he
Can you make wall here,
until the ending. Oh god, the ending. For some reason, Charming sees fit to put on a horrendous musical where he murders Shrek on stage, echoing the opening of the movie. However, he apparently didn't count on the fact that everybody hates him, and that the often sympathetic Shrek will make jokes at his expense.
Where do we have to go?
No, you.
Spike planted.
Like, what did you think was going to happen?
We fucked up.
So yes, here we have the precursor to Shrek the Musical. I think you all know how I feel about Shrek the Musical, but I would gladly sit through 10,000 performances of Shrek the Musical, as long as it meant I never had to witness Prince Charming butcher the art of musical theater ever again. Like, seriously? This is your endgame movie? I mean, I hate to bring up the last movie's endgame, but... Like, you're really gonna follow up this unironically fantastic climactic action-packed scene featuring incredible vocal performance with this?
You got this, bro.
Let's go, bro.
Oh, but it gets better. All the other fairy tale villains that Prince Charming didn't show up, even though Captain Hook was jamming with the heroes at the end of Shrek 2. And
Now
he was
they're
in Far,
gonna
Far
go
Away Idol.
be long range boys.
Hey, wait a minute. Prince Charming was in Far, Far Away Idol. He looked happy to be there. What the hell is happening? Alright, so the villains have everyone cornered and they're gonna kill them all. But then all of a sudden, Justin Timberlake shows up and talks everybody out of being evil, I guess. I don't know. These are legit evil murderer people, and you're telling me one mildly inspiring speech convinces all of them, not even a few, mind you, but every single one of them, to stop being evil, and somehow Charming is the only one who's not convinced? I'm all for redeeming villains whenever it's appropriate, but this is actually idiotic. You know what would have worked better? If Charming was once again a secondary villain to someone who convinces him they can get a happily ever after if they work together. Let me just know in a random place. Cool, yeah. So Charming, still feeling a sense of entitlement to the throne after his mommy promised it for him, joins forces with this guy to take down Shrek. But ultimately, he realizes he's being manipulated, helps Shrek take this guy down, and realizes he isn't actually worthy of the throne. That's what we call it doesn't make sense absent in this movie, but at the same time, he clearly isn't capable of being the main antagonist. This, in my opinion, is the best of both. It serves a purpose more befitting his character, and maybe even a little more interesting. I mean, it's pretty easy to make sudden death.
You got this, bro. Oh, I like long range. Let's go.
ഗോപി എവിടെയെങ്കിലും
Yeah,
പോയിരിക്കാറോ?
Charlie is inexplicably the only person who isn't persuaded by
Gopi
JT's
അവിടെ
speech,
north
even though
അവിടെ
the goddamn evil queen is persuaded because she wants to open up a spa, and the headless guy is convinced he wants to play a flute, and Captain Hook always yearned to be a concert pianist. I don't know. Can we all just collectively ignore the fact that this came out 3 years before Tangled and just claim it's a Tangled ripoff? Yes?
Nice,
Okay,
man.
thank you. So Charming stabs Shrek with a sword and then decrees that he is the new king of Far, Far Away, even though the dragons could always defeat him like last time, but whatever. But as it turns out, this
Player
happens.
standing.
What the fuck? What? You guys got sweat.
So Shrek wipes out half the
Tell you, bro.
universe, including Charming, JT, Mermaid
See, we
Man, the
trusted you, bro.
princesses, and all the other characters we don't see in Shrek 4. Then he goes back to his swamp with his 6 kids, 3 of whom died in the snap. That's what happens.
Yeah,
Just trust me. You
so,
don't have to go back and
don't
watch
focus
the
on
video.
that.
Believe me, there's no point.
I'm looking
Okay,
forward.
that's enough character stuff. Let's talk.
Nice
Shrek
one,
as a
bro.
franchise consists of 3 integral elements: compelling drama, witty humor,
Do it!
and
No,
excellent humor.
Attackers
I
win.
hope that by
problem,
now
no
we've
problem.
established that this movie lacks compelling drama, so let's turn our attention to the humor. This is bad.
ഞാൻ
This
എന്നാ
is very,
പിന്നെ വരാം,
very
guys.
bad. Shrek the Third's sense of humor
Nee,
is all
hold on.
kinds of forced.
ഒന്നുമില്ല,
Why would
അതേ
throwing a bottle at a ship cause the mast to catch fire?
ഒരു
What
5
exactly
minutes
is
ആയി ഞാൻ
supposed
Dota
to be funny
കളിക്കാൻ
about
നോക്കാം.
Gingy's pretty
Then
mundane
Apex
life
grind
flashing
ചെയ്യണം.
before his eyes? Puss and Donkey switch bodies for some reason
പിന്നെ
because I don't know. We needed something for them to do because they don't really add anything to the story as is. I don't know. Even as a kid, this just seemed really stupid and pointless. It's like, well, Shrek and Donkey became handsome in the last movie. We better have some magic-y thing happen in this one too. But like in Shrek 2, the potion was a major plot beat that was integral to both the story and Shrek's character arc. This is just, why exactly? Is it at least funny? I mean, there's this one moment that's almost funny. It nearly works, but the timing of the joke is just so off. This problem persists throughout the whole movie, by the way. None of the jokes are ever really timed that well. They either play out too quickly or wear out their welcome. In addition to timing issues, this film has a shockingly bad tone problem. Like, King Harold's death is oddly comical for some reason. Or at least it's attempting to be comical. I think I genuinely can't tell. It's like borderline offensive and tasteless, and it includes this line.
And I'm proud to call you my frog king dad-in-law.
This movie really does take any opportunity it gets to tease a swear word, because it loves being edgy, I guess.
You, my friend, are royally...
Also, the gross out humor is absurdly excessive. Like, Shrek 1 and 2 had burps and farts to signify the gross aspects of ogres. As weird as it is to say, those burps and farts have thematic purpose. Okay, maybe not all of them, but here in the first Shrek, seeing Fiona burp makes Shrek and the audience say, huh, that's not what you'd expect from a princess. I guess you could say it subverted my expectations. Kill me. Then in the second Shrek movie, Shrek and Fiona bond over this little burp she has at dinner. It's something ogres enjoy, but it causes King Harold to resent Shrek even more. See? Purpose. Shrek the Third feels a need to reference poop every 5 minutes because poop is funny. XD. It's like these first 2 movies had humor geared for adults, but this one takes every opportunity to appeal to actual babies or 12-year-old edgelords. It's nauseating. Then there's scenes that don't even attempt jokes when they really should be. Like, the poison apple was seedy and dark in Shrek 2, but it still had jokes. Charming's attempts to woo the villains over to his side is played oddly serious when there's a lot of comedic potential here. Speaking of comedic potential, isn't the whole idea of casting Eric Idle to make your movie funnier? Because that's not what they did with him. I don't know what Mewman is supposed to accomplish, but he's not funny despite Idle's best efforts in the delivery. And overall, this character serves no real purpose. The princesses are the same way. Nothing they say or do is funny. I mean, I can't stay mad at Larry King's Doris, but the rest are just so annoying. I mean, geez, how could you possibly
what the
waste
fuck?
Amy
This
Poehler,
skin,
Maya Rudolph, and
the
Princess
shit?
Carolyn on such an uninspired, awful
After
script?
what I've
Oh
seen,
boy, Shrek's walking
nothing
into
down
a
there
high school.
scares
I wonder what he's gonna say.
I'm the new mascot, so let's really try and beat the other guys at whatever it is they are doing.
You see what I mean? It's just like this movie has nothing humorous to offer anyone. It's just the most... Wait a minute.
wait a minute.
Play that again.
Costume വെച്ചിട്ട് അവർ ജാക്ക് തരത്രല്ലോ ഉദ്ദേശിച്ചത്.
Oh my god, that band is playing All-Star. You know what? I take it back. I take back every bit of criticism against this movie. This is the greatest piece of Shrek-related media ever conceived. Speaking of music, however, this movie sure does have it, and it sucks. There's actually one implementation of music I really like and I consider thematically appropriate. And it's the eel song Royal Pain at the beginning. Remember the eel song from the last movie? Well, this song starts with... That is so brilliant and thematically cohesive that I'm sure the people who made this movie put it in there by accident. Royal Pain perfectly describes Shrek's situation. It's a pain for him to be royal. It's perfect, and it's such a shame that the actual scene is so unfunny. And also, Shrek literally murders this dude with no consequences. That's funny, right? Anyway, the next song is Live and Let Die. What did I say in the Shrek 2 video again?
Why is Live and Let Die playing at King Harold's funeral? This is a Bond song, you guys. Why is it here? Is it because it has die in the title? Wow, that's really stupid. Thanks so much, guys. I love this movie.
Yeah, that. I agree. Most ill-fitting song you can possibly put in this scene. Every other song is painfully forgettable and a poor fit for each scene. During this movie's Hallelujah sequence, which is the new term I invented for the scene in every Shrek movie, is a super sad song because Shrek is alone, about to lose all the good things in his life. There's a weird-ass song about infidelity playing instead of something thematically appropriate. It's such a bizarre choice, even CinemaSins commented on it. And CinemaSins isn't exactly the place I go to for valid and preliminary critiques of movies. So if they notice what a bizarre choice mistake, it must be songs that have real thematic relevance to their scenes like the Shrek 2 songs. And there are some scenes that could really use some like this action scene outside of Melman's hut. It lacks that edge of the bad reputation scene in Shrek 1, or the ever fallen in love scene in Shrek 2. But by far the worst musical sin of this movie. And when I say musical sin, I don't mean musical theater sin, since we already discussed that. I mean the worst sin in terms of this movie's music was this.
Thanks.
For some inexplicable reason, the movie completely butchers the timing for the scream in the immigrant song, and then it proceeds to play a completely different, inferior song. What were they thinking? This is the equivalent of Sakurai telling you that Gino will be in Super Smash Bros., but all of his moves come from Paper Mario instead of his own game. And oh, by the way, Gino's actually an assist trophy, not a fighter. The new fighter you're getting is pink gold piranha plants. And he's not an Echo. He's a completely new fighter. So yeah, Shrek the Third kind of completely misses the point of what the audience for a Shrek movie wants to see. This movie doesn't have clever jokes for adults, good music, strong character moments, or anything remotely resembling the heart of the first two movies. Right? Well, not exactly.
Mama's got you now.
In case you couldn't tell by now, most of the characters in this movie are completely worthless. Donkey, Puss, and Fiona add practically nothing. Marlin is useless. The princesses could be removed from the story without anything changing. There's really only 3 characters who have any impact on the story and warrant any discussion. Shrek, Charming, and Arthur. Yeah, I finally learned his name because I got something to say about him. Arthur has never been a compelling character to me. He's like the beta version of Hiccup, but worse in every way. I don't like Justin Timberlake's vocal performance, and I don't think it fits in the world of Shrek at all. I think it's ridiculous that he's picked on by actual nerd stereotypes. Nothing about him screams loser at all, and I don't know why he gives an inspiring speech after we've only known him for 2 minutes. Like, what is this supposed to make me feel? I don't care about this kid. And I didn't think I ever would. Like I said, I haven't watched this movie since I was a kid. I didn't like the movie or this character then, and I was sure I wouldn't find anything worthwhile in either of them. But then, something genuinely surprising happens. There's actually a really strong, compelling scene buried underneath all the garbage this movie shoveled into my face for the first 47 minutes. It starts out as expected, with something unfunny.
I might help set the mood.
I hate you.
But after that's over, Shrek and Arthur have a really genuine heart-to-heart conversation. They talk about their horrible fathers in a really natural way, and you really get a feel for this surprising connection they have. Then Shrek says this.
You know, it may be hard to believe, what with my obvious charm and good looks, but people used to think I was a monster. And for a long time, I believed them.
Don't drive in position.
But after a while, you learn to ignore the names that people call you, and you just trust who you are.
That's one of the most touching and powerful lines in any of these movies. It's appropriate for Shrek thematically at this point, since he's finally learned to
Setting
accept
up
and
shop.
embrace his identity. We can see just how significantly he's grown as a person, and seeing him use his newfound sense of self-worth to comfort
My
Arthur,
man's got a
who's still
brand new
struggling to find
bag.
his own self-worth at an impressionable age, is remarkable. This 1-2-minute scene perfectly manages to convey what the other 91 minutes of this movie could not. Shrek's connection with Arthur, his own anxieties about being a father, and Arthur's struggle with his own insecurities are so expertly illustrated here that in a weird way, it sort of makes the rest of the movie worse, because the pieces were here to follow up on the themes of the first two movies in a satisfying way, and yet, this film just didn't seem interested in that. Shrek the Third marked the point where the series stopped being a phenomenon and started being mundane. Just a generic brand aimed at children. What followed this movie were countless holiday specials, merchandise, that godforsaken musical, and of course, another sequel. Plus Puss in Boots, but that's more of its own thing, so I don't really count that. This movie lost the most fundamental element that made the Shrek movies so compelling and relatable. The idea that no matter how much the world seems against you, and no matter how much you don't believe in yourself, you deserve a happy ending. It had a perfect outlet to convey this message in a fresh, original way, but it was too preoccupied farting all over itself.
If you think this whole mad scene ain't dope, I feel you, dude.
Gamer dudes, do that.
All of a sudden, Shrek was just another children's brand. It's not authentic or genuine anymore, it's just a joke. If this movie had been good or even just passable, and they stopped here, then maybe we'd revere Shrek as the excellent animated series it deserves to be remembered as, like Kung Fu Panda or How to Train Your Dragon. These series had plans, they had stories to tell over multiple installments, and they largely had the same writers and or directors across the different installments. Each part feels like a chapter of the same unified story. Shrek had no plans as a franchise. Each film had a mostly different writing team, and the new director of the first film couldn't contribute much to this installment due to his preoccupation directing the Chronicles of Narnia. Not a single screenwriter from the first two movies worked on this one, and it shows. There was a time, long ago before all the spin-offs and the merchandise and the memes, when Shrek was a respected name in the realm of animation. Shrek 1 was the recipient of the first ever Academy Award for Best Animated Feature. And perhaps more significantly, it was nominated for Best Adapted Screenplay. Yes, the Academy of Motion Pictures and Sciences deemed Shrek's script to be one of the 5 best scripts adapted from previous works in the year 2001. That is insane. After that, Shrek 2 came along and casually broke box office records, becoming the 3rd highest grossing movie of all time. It's now number 18, but you know, what are you gonna do? Regardless, this movie is still the highest grossing film of 2004. It outdid The Incredibles by a long shot. Box office obviously doesn't correlate with quality, but the point about this franchise being plus Shrek 2 is good enough to break its box office, I think. So yeah, Shrek the Third, on the other hand, barely resembles the smart, funny, compelling works of art that preceded it. It's an irritating, instantly forgettable experience that has nothing to say, and it knows it. I think it's truly notable that this is the only Shrek movie out of the 4 that doesn't start with the book opening, tipping you off right away to the fact that this movie has nothing substantial to add to the story of Shrek. And you might be thinking, wait a minute, so Shrek 4 does have something to add to the story? Do you actually think that this painfully average piece of brand extension is a good movie? Really? Yes. Really, really. But before I get to that, me and Shark Tale have some unfinished business. Shark Tale is a 2004 North Korean computer-animated cautionary tale about the rise of totalitarian dictators, produced by DreamWorks Animation and directed by Mung Dahl.
Yo! What's up, diggity dogs? I just made a mess in the other room!
It's also one of the worst animated movies I've ever seen in my life. Though, to be fair, I don't watch a lot of those crimes against nature animated movies like Ratatouille or What's Up.
Perfect, China! I promised to give you some Moo Goo Gai Pin
when we get back to the house!
I don't know, maybe my brain is a little too skewed towards good animation. I mean, Ralph Breaks the Internet was the worst animated movie I saw in 2018, and even I think its Oscar nomination is justified given its competition that I didn't bother seeing. But let me tell you what's not justified. Academy Award for Best Animated Feature nominee, Shark Tale. This movie, with its 35% Rotten Tomatoes score, a percentage that is somehow lower than Cars 2, and the lowest score of any DreamWorks animated film ever. This movie, commonly regarded by everyone as the worst feature film DreamWorks has ever released. This movie, in a year when the SpongeBob SquarePants movie and the Polar Express came out. This movie was deemed exceptional enough by the Academy of Motion Pictures and Sciences to be in the running for the most prestigious recognition an animated film can possibly receive, in a year when its fellow nominees were Shrek 2 and The Incredibles. This movie is on the same level to these people as The Incredibles and Shrek 2. Maybe they thought they had to nominate it because Martin Scorsese voices one of the characters. Yes, that Martin Scorsese, one of the greatest living filmmakers of our time. Someone who's made some of the most iconic and influential films in history. That Martin Scorsese plays a pufferfish named Sykes, or as I like to call him, Puff Daddy. I didn't come up with that, the movie did.
Come on, now who's your Puff Daddy? How takes care of you?
No, I don't know why Martin Scorsese is. It's not like he ever voice acted in anything before or after this.
Well, you got me. By all accounts, it doesn't make sense.
I can't solve this anomaly, and no one even seems to be concerned with this bizarre fact, so I guess I'll just move on. I'm not gonna lie, part of what made this review take so long is just how long it took me to sit through this 90-minute review all the way to the end. I had to keep getting up and taking breaks every 15 minutes or so, and I had Shrek 2 on in the second tab. Not only to make comparisons, but also because I just needed to cleanse my palate from the awful storytelling and awful animation by remembering what a real animated movie looks like. What is the deal there? How is Shark Tale infinitely worse than Shrek 2 from a story standpoint and an animation standpoint? It's not like the animation in Shrek 2 holds up super great today, but then you see how it could have looked and you're just like, I don't know how an animation company is capable of making two movies with as drastic of a difference in quality as Shrek 2 and Shark Tale in 1 year. But then again, Pixar made Inside Out and The Good Dinosaur in 1 year, so I don't know what to believe anymore. Whatever. Let's just get this over with so I can go watch something more pleasant, like Mother, or The House That Jack Built, or Over the Head.
Great, the ring is close. Less than a minute.
Shark Tale has maybe the most confused world I've ever seen in an animated film. Like, I'm pretty sure the Emoji Movie does a better job at creating a cohesive, realistic setting where you understand how everything operates. It's usually a really bad sign when you're horribly confused about every single image on screen during the first 3 minutes of a movie. It starts with the DreamWorks logo boy, who's some sort of omnipotent god who can sit on the moon, directly affecting the story by fishing with his worm, thus confirming right off the bat that there are omnipotent gods in the Shark Tale universe, which is a completely innocuous detail that has nothing to do with the rest of the movie, but it's here anyway, so that's cool. Then this shark is humming the Jaws song, and he calls it their theme song? What? Has this shark seen Jaws? I mean, apparently he has, since there's a billboard for it later in the movie. How does that work? Is it like a documentary? Or is it a horror movie? Because like it looks to be the same movie about humans fighting a shark. Spoilers, the shark dies. Why would a shark be so enthusiastic about this clearly anti-shark movie? I guess fish would find this movie about humans fighting a shark entertaining, in the same way that we humans find a movie about fish fighting sharks entertaining. Entertainingly bad! Just look at the incredible brand tie-ins we see in this shot. Gup. Do you get it? Gup. Because it's like Gap. But guppies. That's the joke. Hey, you want a nice refreshing glass of Coral Cola? Get it? How about Old Wavy? Now, that's a knee slapper because waves are commonly found in the ocean. And this movie takes place in... Get it? But I think the true crown jewel here is Fish King. Fish King. Because they're fish? I think that's the joke. But like, it's not like the real world equivalent is called Human King. Like, can you imagine that? Oh, hey, honey, I'm feeling pretty hungry. How about we go over to Human King and get some human food? Yeah, sounds pretty weird, right? Well, that's the reality that these fish people live in. Do they serve fish there? Is cannibalism just a common thing in this world? Oh, wait, literally yes, because there's a sushi place right in the middle of the city. This monster is cutting his fellow fish into pieces and serving them for the public consumption. $4. That's how much the life worth of this guy for a snack. $4. I mean, let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he only uses already dead people in his meat. Doesn't that sound appetizing? Who wants to come with me to the human flesh store and buy some delicious human flesh? At least Mrs. Lovett didn't tell people there was human flesh in her meat pies. Seriously, I don't understand how this guy hasn't been arrested and had his establishment shut down for numerous ethical and health code violations. And like, the ultimate irony here is that a sushi joke could have worked if sharks selling sushi to other sharks. Later on in the movie, they're at a shark restaurant, but like, what if it was a sushi restaurant? I don't know. I'm trying to work with you, movie. Give me a break. Anyway, let's back up to brand integration and look at how it works in Shrek 2. You know, a movie that the crew actually thought about before making it. They have Burger Prince, which doesn't seem amazing, but like, Shrek doesn't have a lot to work with there, given that it already takes place in a kingdom. Actually, if anything, it makes sense, because you wouldn't want to upstage the actual king of Far, Far Away by naming your brand Burger King. That would be like calling the real world equivalent Burger Prime Minister or Burger President. Insert Trump joke here. So yeah, there actually was some thought put in to ensure that the Shrek 2 version of Burger King didn't sound horribly stupid and forced. Same with Farbucks. It's Far, Far Away brand Starbucks. It's not hard. Old Knavery. That's just funny. I can't help it, man. Lethal Arrow 4. It's like, yeah, that sounds like a real movie in the Shrek world. But with Shark Tale, the joke is fish puns. That's it. It's just fish puns, and none of them are good. Look at these celebrities with their stars of fame, which, first of all, are the starfish the celebrities? Because if so, why do they have names like Jessica Shrimpson and Muscle Crow when they aren't those species, they are starfish? The other option is that these starfish are literally being paid to sit on top of these stars all day and scream their celebrity's name. What kind of job is that? Is that really what you wanted out of your career, Cod Stewart Starfish Man? Did you expect this to be your life?
Congratulations. You're a failure.
And then we have a blink and you'll miss it Lawrence Fishburne, which doesn't even make sense. His name already has fish in it. How is taking the E out of his name suddenly a fish pun? Who thought this was even remotely okay to put in your $75 million Academy Award for Best Animated Feature nominee? And then there's Seal, who I had to look up who that was since I've never heard of him. This movie is very fresh and relevant, you guys. But in this movie, it's just a seal. A disgusting, poorly rendered seal. Is that the joke? Okay, one more thing. I've saved the best for last. There's a billboard in the middle of this square that reads, "Celebrating Tuna History Month." Tuna History Month.
Aye vey.
This movie has a really weird connection with race, and I don't get it at all.
Snap it. Oscar. You're not snapping it. Oscar. Oh, hey, don't sweat it, Sykes. A lot of white fish can't do it.
Is Oscar implying that he is a black fish? Because blackfish are like actual fish in real life. And he ain't it, Chief. Maybe the billboard joke could have worked if it said Blackfish History Month, but also...
No.
I will give this movie credit for not being the worst Will Smith movie with questionable racial implications. And also, as bizarre as this billboard is, it does actually give us a good indication of the time frame this movie takes place in. Spoilers, it's really terrible. So, we see this billboard in the first 2 minutes of the movie, meaning the movie starts in Tuna History Month. Why am I saying this? When did my life go so wrong? Let's assume that it's February 1st when this movie opens up. Oscar has his day at the car wash, the next day he gambles his money away, gets tortured by jellyfish, and pretends to kill a shark. So Oscar's big shark lie happens on February 2nd. Oscar becomes famous pretty rapidly, leading to his face getting plastered everywhere, a bunch of brand deals, and even a tie-in video game. Video games take a very long time to make. Even terrible rushed licensed games. My point is that all of this stuff couldn't have happened overnight, even if the movie is edited to make it seem like. But later on in the movie, when Oscar is buying flowers for Angie, he swims by the same billboard, which still says that it's Tuna History Month. So all of this happened in the span of a month?
That makes no sense.
But, you know, maybe we can give this movie the benefit of the doubt and assume that an entire year has passed and it's now Tuna History Month again. In which case, that's even worse! You expect me to believe that Oscar has been the shark slayer for an entire year and he's only publicly slayed a shark one time? Would he even be relevant anymore? Either way, this is just such a gaping hole in the movie's time frame that didn't even have to happen. Just change the billboard when he swims by it later in the movie. Or better idea, don't even have the billboard in the first place. This movie has gone off the rails, and almost everything I've talked about so far is just the first 3 minutes of the movie. Like, people make clickbait nitpick videos about the first 3 minutes of the entire film. Here, it's actually true. I can't think of a single other movie that loses its mind this quickly, and we haven't even met the main character yet. Boo boy, are you in for a treat? Oscar was a villain protagonist long before I took some creative liberties in my YouTube videos. This guy is one of the most unlikable protagonists I've ever seen in an animated movie. Which would have been great if the movie was about an average dude getting turned into a manipulative, sociopathic liar who disregards everyone in his life as he gets consumed by money and success. As a matter of fact, it is now my headcanon that this film is what directly inspired Martin Scorsese to make The Wolf of Wall Street. He's here to fit together. Oscar starts out even less likable than Jordan Belfort, which is quite a feat, to be sure. He seems okay at first because he oozes the same natural charisma as his voice actor, famous YouTuber Will Smith.
Oh, that's hot. That's hot.
But then we find out that he's a shallow asshole who wants to be rich and famous and doesn't value the people in his life that he already has. He says that nobody likes a nobody, but almost everyone seems to like him. He has friends and stuff. Sure, people at work sometimes like him, but the friends he has. The movie talks him out of it. He doesn't feel earned. He walks over the record store and gives him no consequences whatsoever. His friend gives him a pink pearl that belonged to his grandmother in order to help him pay off his debt. That's so wholesome. So the next day, he's got a big old envelope of money to give to Mr. Sykes. I know this because he literally says it out loud to nobody with no prompting whatsoever.
Big old envelope full of money? Give it to Mr. Sykes.
Thanks, my dumb baby
no
brain
fucking
couldn't
way.
tell. Oscar overhears these random fish saying that the race is rigged and that Lucky Day is gonna win. Thank you, random fish. I totally trust you. I'm gonna bet the money that my best friend sold her most prized family heirloom for out of the kindness of her heart. I guess the movie's okay with that because Oscar's never caught off doing this. Fortunately, Oscar loses and he's tied up and chosen like the menace he is. But then the main plot of the movie gets started and this character stops being even remotely identifiable or likable in the slightest. No, wait, that implies that he was before. Never mind. Oscar is being chased by a shark, and the shark gets hit by an anchor, and he dies. Instead of swimming away like a rational fish being, he starts inexplicably making karate noises and punching and kicking with his eyes closed, so that these idiot jellyfish can come back and think they killed this shark. There he makes up a story about having killed the shark, which everyone back at the whale wash instantly believes? Somehow? Like, I have no trouble believing that the jellyfish believe Oscar's story, but like, really think about this for a sec. Oscar killed a shark with no witnesses other than these two jellyfish who saw Oscar standing on top of this corpse after the fact. Nobody really seems to respect Oscar or these jellyfish. If he were to come to the whale wash and say, hey, I killed this shark, oh, that's hot, would anyone actually believe him? The other tongue scrub guy would be like, yeah, right, Oscar, Pixar, it didn't happen. Everybody would laugh, Angie would tell him that he's full of shit, Sykes would get mad at him all over again, and that drab little crab dude would probably believe him if we're being honest. But that's it. No sane person would ever just immediately accept Oscar's story without actual proof. It just sounds way too fishy. But yeah, there's no way a blue streak cleaner wrasse would ever be able to take on a great white shark in game, I think. I don't know anything biology related. What do I look like, Tierzu? Though to be fair, maybe a blue streak cleaner wrasse is able to take on a great white shark. We better ask Tierzu just to be safe. Yo, Tierzu, is that a viable matchup?
I'm glad you asked. I think it's really important to consider the marine biology that went into environments such as young and fish when considering the current meta and how astronomically the odds are stacked against the blue streak cleaner wrasse build. I'd say that it's practically impossible for it to win in a one-on-one fight. When you compare the stats, it becomes clear as day. Oh, and before you ask, yes, a giant, shiny coconut crab with mythical powers would have a much greater chance at taking on a great white shark in combat.
I knew it! Thanks, Tierzu. So yeah, Oscar killing this shark, despite being the most implausible thing ever with no proof whatsoever, is taken seriously by everyone, including the news who show up to interview him out of the blue with no prompting. He's then immediately given countless brand deals and the front cover of every magazine known to fish, which is just a— wait a minute, OJ Shrimpson? Smoking seaweed? What is wrong with this movie? But anyway, in a real movie with actual pacing, Oscar's ascent wouldn't be this rapid. He has to prove himself a little more by fighting more sharks. He does this later with Lenny, but that's 15 minutes into the movie. On average, he's already gotten everything he wanted in the span of one montage. All for doing absolutely nothing! This is like Hercules, but if Hercules didn't actually fight the Hydra in front of hundreds of people, he just stood on top of its corpse with no witnesses except for 2 stupid people, and everyone still lavished him with the exact same praise as they did in the movie. Then, during Zero to Hero, Hercules isn't actually fighting any monsters. He's just soaking up the same adoration of riches for doing absolutely nothing other than lying to everyone.
You lied to me, Oscar! Me!
Don't take it personally. Come on, I like to everybody.
Lighten up, amigo.
Asshole! You wanna know why Zero to Hero is such a satisfying song other than it freaking slaps? Because Hercules earned it. He earned his success, and he continues to earn it throughout the course of the song. What is this montage supposed to make me feel? Happy? Content? I feel manipulated! This guy's an asshole! I can't believe we're supposed to call him the protagonist! This movie should have been about the Martin Scorsese fish! He's the only one I feel sympathy for in the end! He's trying to run a business, and this schlemiel keeps lousing away his money and betting it in horse races! Yeah! Okay, so I guess he learned his lesson later on or whatever, but it's not like he's a nice person after that. He still acts like the same annoying asshole throughout the entire movie. But you know what? Enough about Will Smith. He's not the only character in the movie, and the other characters are way better, right? Right? I hate Lenny more than I can possibly express in the words. He's essentially nothing more than an elaborate gay joke, except instead of being into fish, he's a vegetarian. A shark that doesn't eat meat, and his father is ashamed of him. But the movie will not let up with the gay syndrome. It has all the subtlety of a cannonball to the face. Lenny has a scene where he comes out to Oscar about being a vegetarian. This is funny to this dipwad somehow? But I'm more so confused. Much like how Oscar is voiced by famous YouTuber Will Smith, Lenny is voiced by famous YouTuber Jablinski Games. And the voice he uses is trying so hard to sound shrill and effeminate that it's incredibly irritating.
Here's the thing, I'm on a diet, and I'd rather not. Shrimps, they're not good for you.
I also don't buy the instant friendship between these two when this guy is taking credit for the murder of Jablinski's brother. I can understand a business relationship if they can mutually benefit from staging Lenny's death, but they act like best buddies immediately because that's what Shrek did, and Toy Story, and Monsters Inc. We gotta have our marketable duo so the dumb kids buy toys of them. And then there's Angie, played by some non-YouTuber I've never heard of called Reen Zellweger. This character seems okay at first, and you kind of feel for her because she's constantly getting friend-zoned by Oscar.
She's like my best friend.
She's kind of the voice of reason at times, and she says the kind of things you
I mean, what'd you expect? You just take credit for killing a shark and then everything be fine and dandy for the rest of your life?
Yeah.
Wow, you're dumb. But then she starts acting obnoxiously clingy when Oscar kisses this sexy fish lady, as if the two of them are actually dating and he's legit cheating on her with sexy fish. Like, girl, you didn't tell him how you feel, and he's way too dumb to figure it out for himself. But hey, speaking of sexy fish lady, wow, what an amazing character. When she's first introduced, it becomes clear to the viewer that she is, in fact, a gold digger. This is expressed very subtly through the music choice. She only cares about rich and famous people for their money, which I guess Oscar is either cool with because he's an asshole, or he's too stupid to realize that deep down, he's really superficial, even though she literally tells him that!
Deep down, I'm really superficial.
Subtlety? What's that? Okay, so then there's these two jellyfish who are some of the most annoying characters ever. Nothing they ever say or do is funny, and I regret their inclusion in my life. Then there's Martin Scorsese as Puff Daddy, and I'm not gonna lie, he's the one character in the movie that I like. His delivery and comedic timing is the dialogue. He's also not entirely hateable or a bad person. Literally everyone else I can talk about. Okay, I lied. I just remembered I also like the Octopus Henchman guy. He's actually pretty funny. And like, some of the sharks have good lines here and there. Like this guy.
May whoever did this die 1,000 deaths. Stinking, maggot-covered corpse rot in a fiery depths of hell.
I watched this movie when I was 6. I also like this shrimp. It has like the saddest friggin' backstory in the whole universe about how he was plastic or whatever. And the shark dad just doesn't care and tells his son to eat the shrimp alive. It's honestly incredible. But then the shrimp comes back later and says a pop culture reference, and I instantly love it. Boy, this movie sure does love pop culture references, doesn't it? As if you couldn't tell from the brand integration. Remember Shrek? Shrek made pop culture references. And this is a movie that so desperately wants to be Shrek. So much so that half of its title is just an anagram for Shrek. Yeah, you thought you could fool me, movie, but I see all. So does the humor in this movie work at all? Well... this might be a controversial statement, but Shark Tale is a pretty mixed bag. I actually laughed at quite a few moments throughout the movie, so I think a lot of that just comes down to the actors' deliveries.
Are you kidding me? Are you out of your mind?
I don't know, man. The way these characters interact with each other is shockingly natural and can lead to some funny moments.
What happened? Wait, I just want to hold you.
But outside of these interactions, the movie doesn't really have jokes. It more so has racial stereotypes and pop culture references. Racial stereotypes are not funny. Okay, moving on. Pop culture references need a very specific context to actually work. They are funny when used properly. Shrek uses them properly. Shark Tale just quotes random movies and expects people to laugh, even though kids have no idea why Oscar is saying random sentences that don't have any context or meaning.
Are you not entertained? You can't handle the truth.
And then there's the most iconic scene in the movie by far, which I truly have no words to describe. It's simply majestic.
Dan, 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 can't touch this. Dan, 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 can't touch this.
But this movie's incessant need to reference pop culture every 5 minutes is truly nothing compared to the animation. The animation is so bad that it's honestly kind of incredible. Probably the easiest and most common complaint leveled against this movie is the character design. And like, yeah, I don't really have much to add there. I have no idea why you would try to remake Will Smith's face on an animated fish. But to be totally fair, it doesn't look as bad as the genie. How sad is that, honestly? Disney in 2019 has the worst looking animated Will Smith than Shark Tale. Shark Tale. But yeah, everyone hates the design of the main characters, and for good reason. But like, have you taken a look at some of these side characters? Look at this sturgeon. What is going on with his lips? Why did you make this? Look at this seal again. Look at the texture. How is this real? One of my favorite things to do in this movie is just looking at the background characters and their beautiful faces. Look at this turtle on the right. Has he been smoking seaweed? Why is he nodding? Like, this is the emotional climax of the film, and he's just bopping around. Don't mind me. He did it again! Oh my god! He just did it again! Oh my god, they just looped the same animation and they hope no one would notice. But yeah, going back to the main characters, this scene is a really good example of how bad these expressions are in this movie. You can really tell that. He did it a third time! What is wrong with this movie? So as you can tell, the background characters look real bad, and the main characters are not only ugly, but incapable of emoting naturally. They're definitely not wooden. Oh no, quite the contrary. They're way too expressive given how bad the actual design of the faces really are. Seeing this emotion is like watching puppies drown or Santa Claus getting shot. It ruins the magic of animation and it makes me long for the sweet release of death. Madagascar is another DreamWorks movie with a lot of weird expressions. But the weird expressions work because they're intentionally weird for comedic effect. The timing is really good, and most importantly, the design of the characters isn't complete ass. So the weird expressions actually make the movie funnier. Weird expressions aren't that's just how the characters naturally look. It sucks. Also, why is this movie so ugly? The colors are all washed out and it doesn't do the characters or the environments any favors. There is not a single frame of this movie that you can say looks good. It's all so hideous and so poorly rendered, it's just so unfun. I could keep talking about the animation, but that means my eyeballs would have to be subjected to the time. So why don't we just move on from that? It's finally time to talk about... Finally, we come to the end of the movie. It starts out with the Shark Mafia kidnapping Angie, so Oscar, Jablinski, and Puff Daddy have to go save her. And you gotta help us! So they go to this sit-down where Oscar pretends he doesn't know who Angie is, but uh-oh, Sexy Fish says he's bluffing. We meet again. You just broke up with me 5 minutes ago. What the fuck? So I guess Sexy Fish is working with the Mafia now? Sure, why not? So then Oscar maniacally laughs because he's clinically insane, and he orders Sebastian to execute Order 6. This leads to a shocking scene where the helicarriers from Captain America target every single shark on the planet, leading to the genocide of the entire shark population. Just kidding, I wish. Instead, Oscar tells his pet whale shark to eat Angie. Now, Oscar knows that Lenny hates the taste of fish and nearly vomited when he had Oscar in his mouth for a few seconds. So instead of leaving while he has the chance, Oscar proceeds to stroke his massive ego in front of everyone, which leads to Lenny vomiting up everything he ever ate. I guess he finally realized he was in the movie Shark Tale. So Don Lino realizes that his son is alive, and he's really pissed. Which, like, are we supposed to feel bad that he was manipulated and lied to like everyone else? I hate Oscar as much as the next guy, but do you really expect me to side with a crime lord shark who should get thrown in prison for trying to get fish time?
Hey, Don, Lino, sir.
What did I ever do to you?
You eat people! So Lino chases after Oscar, who, being the kind, compassionate, and intelligent person that he is, leads him straight to the heavily populated car wash. Why not? I guess it's so he can trap him in this car wash machine, so sure, whatever, I guess. So everyone is cheering for him in slow motion with disturbing faces, and I guess that's a little too spooky for him, so he announces that he's not a real shark slayer. But I mean, like, technically he captured the head of the shark mafia, so you kinda are a real shark slayer now. How about that? But yeah, the truth comes out, and this movie attempts to have an emotional reconciliation between Shark Daddy and his son, and between Oscar. Again, I can't stress enough how adorable this is when you try and compare it to Shrek 2. A movie that earned both of its emotional reconciliations, from King Harold giving Shrek his blessing, to Fiona reaffirming her love for the ogre she married. Here, it's not earned because these characters are not likable or relatable, but it's believable because they are idiots. Angie takes Oscar back because she's an idiot, and he's an idiot. They deserve each other. The shark reconciliation is fine. What's the matter is quite possibly the dumbest thing that happened in the entire movie. That's insane. So much. Oscar asks if the reef is safe and if they're cool, and Don Lino says, "Good." How exactly are they cool? Yeah, it's nice that the dude who profiteered off the death of your one son just helped you reconcile with your other son. But what does this have to do with the natural ecosystem and order of things? Is the mafia just shut down now? What are the sharks supposed to eat? They're all cool with not eating fish anymore? Every single one of them? No one thinks that you've gone off and you're gonna try and usurp the mafia? That's what happened in Guardians 2, which is a movie with thought and effort put into the script. But yeah, no, every single shark is just cool with this and perfectly adjusts to coexisting in fish society. They even high-five Oscar as they go by. I'm sorry, that's the fakest shit I've ever seen. Shrek the Third had a more believable resolution. Shrek the Third! I think what's even worse, however, is the fact that no one is mad at Oscar whatsoever for lying to them for however long it's been. A month? A year? Who even knows anymore? Everyone just cheers for him when he kisses Angie. No one is mad that he manipulated every single fish in this entire thing. He should never be allowed to eat lunch in this town again. He should go to jail for violating all the contracts and brand deals he signed. Don Lino should go to jail. All the sharks should go to jail. The screenwriter should go to jail. Someone put me out of my misery. I can't take this empty dancing. This is like a thing they wanted to do in 2004. Have a big dance again. Then do a montage of previous scenes in the movie with the actor's face. Shrek 2 did it. Shrek 2 did it again. And this movie killed it. This movie killed this trend with a big dance party because it was so bad here. This is actually the worst scene in the movie. 2 movies in, and this thing died because this movie was so terrible and because it did this. Oh, but don't worry. It's back again, and about time too. I love when animated movies do this, don't you? Oh, God. Oh, God. Please end. Oh, hey, it's over. Cool. So you may be wondering, which movie is worse, Shark Tale or Shrek the Third? Well, I thought about it. In terms of which movie I'd rather sit through again compared to the movie I'd never think about ever again, I prefer Shark Tale. Hands down. It's a lot more. And I mean isn't a much more interesting movie. It fails in spectacular ways, and as a result, it's a joy to sit through, pick apart, and ultimately think about. There's a reason this movie has been an integral cornerstone of my channel for the better part of 2 years now, long before I started reviewing movies. Shark Tale is just fun to talk about and riff on and point out the incompetencies in. Shrek the Third, meanwhile, is bland and tepid. It offers nothing of substance or worth outside of a 2-minute scene.
ഞാൻ കേട്ടത് വെച്ച് ബോട്ട് ലോബീസ് അബ്യൂസ് ചെയ്ത് കുറെ ആൾക്കാർ റാങ്ക് കയറിയിട്ടുണ്ടെന്നാണ്. Are these
Shrek the
bots?
Third is the most hateable DreamWorks film. Shark Tale is probably the worst, but I honestly can't bring myself to hate this movie even after everything I've talked about here today. It's just such a delight of a bad movie. As a kid, I thought it was terrible, but I liked it anyway because it was just funny to me. It was funny that it tried to be like Shrek and failed. It was funny that it tried to be like Finding Nemo and failed. And parts of it were just kind of legitimately funny and still are to this day. I would way sooner revisit this movie over any of the trash that Illumination pumps out on a regular basis. What's there to enjoy here? Nothing? Okay, then what's there to make fun of here? Oh, also nothing. It's just a safe corporate product with no personality whatsoever. Shark Tale is oozing with personality. Ugly, conceited, horribly dated personality. But that's something. I remember my friends and I tried to watch The Nut Job once. We thought it would be funny to make fun of such an infamous and hated animated film, and we shut it off 45 minutes in. It was just too bland, too safe, too basic and competent from a storytelling perspective to offer any ironic entertainment. Shark Tale is anything but competent. It's an absolute disaster of a film, and I love it. It made me feel angry, bewildered, and ultimately embarrassed for the filmmakers. And wouldn't you rather have that over an animated movie that makes you feel nothing at all? So yeah, that's my thoughts on Shark Tale. Hopefully the Shark Slayer from my YouTube poops doesn't get mad at me. I mean, I like the movie, right? Hopefully he doesn't kill me for saying bad stuff about it, right?
Die. I'll do it myself. Oh shit!
I've seen many more
kids' fairy tale, but it doesn't do one thing. And next time I hear, oh, what's it like working in the animation genre? I'm gonna punch that person.
Funding for Shaperless is provided by Surfshark VPN. Tune until the end to find out about their amazing service. Life is weird sometimes. As I'm writing this video, it's been less than a week since I officially graduated from college with a bachelor's degree in economics, and I'm left with one simple 2-word question in my mind.
Now what?
4 years ago, the answer would have been simple, if a bit vague. Get a job in the business field and make a difference. And that would be life, though. But the only thing predictable about life is its unpredictability. And believe it or not, I'm not talking about the global recession pandemic elephant in the room. I'm talking about this. The channel you're currently watching.
We got
the videos that have reached millions of people around the globe. People who respect my opinions on media and keep coming back to hear my voice. People I never thought I'd really ever connect with. And you guys have inspired me in ways I never considered to be possible. You've made me realize that my creative voice is valid, even though I had so many doubts about that before my name. I'm still captivated by economics and I'm still pursuing a career in that field. But I now understand that there's another passion I can pursue, whether on the side or as the main focus of my life's work. I want to make things. I want to add something to
I've been chosen.
Doubt comes
Wait, what is this?
every
What
time
is
I dream about the works of
this?
art I want to create.
Why is
Doubt
this
that I'll
just
finish
like
them,
that? What the
doubt that
fuck?
anyone will care,
Ransom.
doubt that any of these fantasies are sustainable at all.
Ransom.
Doubt pervades every fiber of my being, and it's hard to break free of it no matter
alright.
what I do. And whenever
Alright.
I'm overwhelmed with
Please
doubt,
ransom.
I need to be reminded of the limitless
Don't
creative
ransom.
potential
What the
that
fuck?
exists in every single one of us. I
Oh,
rewatched
never mind,
a
never
movie that
mind.
tells me, yeah, people will care about the things I add to this world. No, it doesn't matter who I am or where I come from. Anyone can create something that will resonate or ring true with other people. Anyone has the power to change the world. Anyone can cook. As I come to terms with my desire to create art, a desire I repressed for years on end and only revived as a result of the overwhelming support I've received from friends and strangers alike these past few years, coming back to this film, this extraordinary story about the little chef that could, and reflecting on what the film truly means to me. Nothing has changed since last year when I made my animated feature ranking. I still have some story problems with the film, I'd still put it at number 4 on the list, and I still prefer Spider-Verse, The Incredibles, and Spirited Away overall. But even though I think those are better movies, Ratatouille probably means more to me personally than all 3 of them combined. And with the exception of Lady Bird, I can't think of any film that speaks to me more personally than this. So what is it? Why does this movie about a French rat chef controlling a noodle-named, noodle-armed ginger man have such a profound message about the nature of the human condition? And why am I so obsessed with it? And what am I talking about when I say this is Pixar's magnum opus? I just said The Incredibles is better. Well, I also said Beauty and the Beast is better than Lion King, but Lion King is Disney's magnum opus. Magnum opus is defined as a large and important work of art, especially one regarded as the most important work of an artist or writer. Not necessarily the best, but definitely the most important. Again though, why? What's so special about Ratatouille, of all the movies Pixar has made, that elevates it to such a status? How is this film supposed to stand toe-to-toe with Lion King and be considered this studio's crowning achievement? Am I out of my mind? Probably, but that doesn't matter, because we're going on a journey together throughout this entire film, from beginning to end. Not how I normally do things, obviously, but given how crucial this film's pacing is, I really think or even you got a friend in me. Ratatouille ain't about that. The title of this movie just appears in no nothing. In fact, this whole intro is deliberately toned to feel miserable. The muted colors and cloudy weather contribute to an atmosphere of dullness that persists throughout most of the first
An enemy has been slain.
Basically, the movie's color palette is telling you that being a rat sucks.
On my way.
But the colors spark up a few times in the first time. Notably through the pink sensation by combining two flavors. This is taking pre-existing ideas, using them to convert to something entirely new and unexpected and sensational. One visual of imagining and creating a new idea is perfectly captured, and the movie continues by illustrating Revy's passion and having come up with 5 different ideas and developing no reference. Unfortunately, he goes a little too far in his pursuit of flavor. This leads to an epic shootout. How many Pixar movies do you have shootouts?
Alaya, help! Frontline, please!
Now that was a beauty.
This shootout leads to an entire colony of rats. Now, there's something really interesting about this plot development that I only noticed in my most recent viewing. Think about it. Remy does something that inadvertently causes something really bad to happen. It's a tale as old as time, really. Think back to A Bug's Life, where Flick's doohickey causes the ant's grain pile to fall into the water. Or what about Lion King 1.5, where Timon's song and dance routine distracts him and allows the hyena to chase after his meerkat brethren. Here we got 3 movies that all have the same basic plot.
We'll get them
What's different about Ratatouille? Simple. Ratatouille doesn't have this boring-ass scene where the clan and master guy was screwed up. Now, I love Lion King 1.5, so I'm not going to insult it. Let me just say that A Bug's Life is probably the type of how not to write it. This is the second time in recent memory I've unfavorably compared it. Ratatouille sees the main character screw up and get consequences. But it's not that we're Ratatouille. Instead, he gets separated from the clan and the Again, that was a direct consequence of his mistake. Here, the color palette is the darkest and deepest it's ever been.
Try what?
Desire.
Enemy missing.
His internal passion.
Too bad, eh? An enemy has been slain.
Can I just say what a brilliant decision this was, making Remy's internal These ain't no ghost shenanigans. Remy is simply talking to a figment of his imagination, a personification of his conscience and his desire to make things. So Remy takes Cousteau's advice, or rather his own advice, and keeps moving forward. What follows is an absolutely delectable sequence entirely driven by the score. And I must, of course, give my compliments to Michael Giacchino. Now, we all love Pixar scores, and Randy and Tom always do a great job at developing some iconic music to go with the scenes in these films, like Toy Stories, Monsters Inc., Finding Nemo, WALL-E, etc. Then Michael Giacchino jumped on the scene and... Yeah, I like this song. This dude is behind what I consider the Pixar's most iconic movies. The Incredibles, Up, Inside Out, Coco. Yikes, never mind. I think his entire career has just been invalidated. I'm joking, of course. This man's worked on high-profile work, like the Jurassic Worlds, the MCU Spider-Mans, Rogue One, the best movie of 2019. All this big stuff nowadays. But Pixar is what initially launched into the stratosphere. Now, The Incredibles was inexplicably not nominated for Best Original Score, but Ratatouille finally garnered its first
Now that was a beaut. Oh, too bad, eh?
A couple that could probably use some counseling or something.
They are having a bad day. An ally has been slain. Don't be stepping on my maple leaves.
Tasting taste. Perfect appetizer for what awaits him at the top. Remember how the movie deliberately set up a drab, stormy, miserable environment for the first 15 minutes of the film?
Now that was a beaut.
This glorious shot right here is the payoff. It's honestly magnificent. The luminous golden Eiffel Tower contrasted against the pink and purple sky. The swelling, incredible rendition of the movie's main theme taking center stage. Remy's realization that he's been so close to the city of his dreams for so long, and that he can finally see it for himself. There's only one word that comes to mind when I watch this scene, and that's cinema. This is easily one of the greatest moments in any Pixar film. The movie is just getting started. At last, every there I
An enemy has been slain. Don't be stepping on my maple leaves.
Right away, we can see that
someone say double double.
Is way out.
What a rampage!
Living it up on top.
Hold it right there, pal.
And stay out of trouble. But he's a clumsy boy, and that causes him to spill some soup. So he's gotta fix it, or just. Remy once again puts his passions on full display for all of us. No rats get this upset about his soup getting cooked. It's just a soup, bro. Chillax. But Remy can't chillax. This is his greatest passion. His entire and to watch someone desecrate the sanctity of Cousteau's name by cooking up soup this badly, he cannot stand it. That's really absolutely stupid, this guy. After crashing into the city, and eventually Remy gets his chance to make a breakthrough, but he gets a bit sidetracked by something. Now, Shelby from Girlfriend Reviews requested an analysis of the scene where Remy runs by the stinky soup and gags, so I obviously must oblige, even though the analysis will unfortunately not be 20 minutes as I promised. So Rat is to escape, but as he runs past the soup, he says, "Hold up a minute. This is the worst thing ever created by a human, and its foul, repugnant odor is so heinous that it causes him to gag, even though rats are biologically unable to do so. This awful soup quotes the law of physics Now it's up to Remy to make this irredeemable soup unirredeemable. He figures he can just half-ass it and throw in a couple yum-yums. But then...
Maybe you should say sorry for being so awesome. Don't worry, eh? We'll get it next time. Aw, too bad, eh? Look out, eh? Hey, you're having a bad day. Oh,
A flurry of ingredients flies through the
our
air
home
into the
and
delicious
native
mixture
land.
by an artist in his prime, in his element, music perfectly scoring every action. There is no better word for sequence than sensation. Nothing can stop Remy
What?
now. Uh-oh.
Wait.
Remy gets caught with his foot.
No.
Weenie gets caught by Skinner, who yells at him for attempting to cook in his kitchen. But while he's distracted, the soup is sent out.
This sauce! Your middle feet! Stop that sauce!
To everyone's shock, critics really like it. Even though Skinner is still angry with Linguini, he seems to be in the minority.
How can we claim to represent the name of Gusto if we don't uphold his most cherished anyone?
An enemy has been slain. Don't be stepping on my maple leaf. Double kill. An enemy has been slain.
The day of reckoning has come, Remy. Prepare to die.
And stop staring at me with them big old eyes.
Now, I've seen a lot of people say stuff like, oh, Luigi is a regular old goofball. He's a pretty standard weakness. He's a knucklehead. Every time I heard someone call me Weenie a knucklehead in the past, I'd have to giggle. Which isn't fine. It's weird that it happened twice, right? I get why not everyone thinks Linguini is anything special, but personally, I think he's hilarious. I love watching him with the help of him, and I think there's actually more going on inside him than a lot of people give him credit for. He has a lot of expectations, both through Remy's cooking abilities and his illustrious lineage. But we'll get to those things later. Here we finally get to see our main duo. Oh, Pixar sure loves their main duos. Woody and Buzz, Mike and Sully, Jack Black and Smith Tail. It's such a common format employed by the studio, but there's a consistent element throughout all these movies that isn't present in Ratatouille. In these movies, both it's a fun format, but Ratatouille decides to make a somewhat risky change to the concept. What if one of them doesn't talk? Obviously, half-silent duos have existed plenty of times before this movie, but Pixar never just have Remy talk to Linguini and move the communication there over time. But in my opinion, the worst movie considerably, since it would have destroyed the idea that Remy they both about animals who are COVID, not but that makes me
An ally has been slain. You're having a bad day.
Conflict involving the ethics of stealing, and finally,
double?
humans come to realize that this tiny animal really is on the same level of threat, and that they can coexist with each other in spite of the bigots who disagree.
That bee is living my life!
So these are the same movie. I proved it. Now, these movies are that's not a film fact. B-movie wants
Now
to
that
be
was a
lighthearted comedy about Jerry Seinfeld.
He pulled the
being in and out
goalie.
with
Now's
Renee
our
Zellweger
shot.
movie. Also, side note, I want to clear my name. I knew who Renee Zellweger was before I made the Shark Tale review. Me pretending not to know who she was a dumb joke. I'm a theater kid. I've seen the content. Anyway, this movie was never intended to be a cinematic masterpiece. But I think the way its themes and ideas intersect with Ratatouille really goes to show just how above and beyond Ratatouille went. Not just as an animated kids film, but as a film in general. Besides, I don't think Ratatouille is a kid's film, but we'll get to that later. B-movie and Ratatouille both present their protagonists with the notion that they should not cultivate under any circumstances. This notion is supported by the fact that the humans don't take kindly to their kind around here. But ultimately, both Barry and Remy are shown kindness by one person has the opportunity to dispose of them, but decides not to out of the goodness of their heart. From here, the animal forms a relationship of some sort with the human, in spite of a disapproving world. But again, there is one very for all intents and purposes,
don't be stepping on my maple leaf.
And that's exactly what it wants to be. A pure
An enemy
comedy
has
that
been
isn't
slain.
meant to be a That's finally what the movie wants to become. But it also puts on
now that was a few.
The easy way to show such a relationship. Even in my
too bad, eh?
and have Remy secretly
double kill.
Have him whisper instructions.
Aliya, എന്താണ്?
You can properly follow them. But it doesn't serious.
Don't be
Both
stepping on my maple
are
leaf.
equally
Don't
silly
worry,
premises
eh? We'll
to
get him
down
next
to.
time.
Ratatouille takes a silly premise and shows what kind of creativity and emotional significance
that was
can
a
be
few.
achieved if you try harder. They treat the idea of a rat who wants to become a chef to be a which is why he's off. They realize
They're
that
having
would
a bad
and
day.
so they do something that is
PSI,
simultaneously more realistic and more outlandish and much, much more creative. Who would even think about making a movie where a rat controls a human like a puppet by pulling on his hair? It's absolutely absurd,
that feels
and
very
yet, even though it
fucking
takes time to get used to, it starts to make
bad
sense as the story
in the
continues
water.
on. We, the audience, start to accept this absurd system of control because it just becomes second nature to the characters. And through it, we get to see these two characters directly help each other achieve their own desired success. Linguini becomes a star at the restaurant, and he starts to win over his new mentor, Colette. And Remy gets to live out his lifelong dream of cooking at Gusteau's. The way these two characters directly affect each other's destinies like this makes them one of the most memorable and well-written duos in Pixar history, even though only one of them is doing the talking. That really doesn't matter because right from the start, Linguini and Remy have excellent chemistry. Whether through Linguini's paranoid shouting or Remy's subtle, humorous mannerisms, they connect extremely well and have some great exchanges. I really like how Remy initially runs away, content with having tricked this clown, before he regains his conscience and returns to help. I like how Linguini initially thinks Remy has stolen food and run off, only to find him innocently cooking an omelet. The fact that they come into conflict with each other and don't trust each other at first makes their relationship feel more realistic.
Wow.
It feels like there's a ton of progression here, and it only gets more interesting as it goes
MB.
along. But we'll get to that later. At this point in the movie, it's fun to watch these two slowly improve their craft with this whole hair puppet maneuver. This montage, where we get to see them spectacularly fail at cooking, only to get better and better, to the point where they can handle a knife no problem, is a big part of the reason why this hair pulling tactic starts to feel more natural and less weird to us. And so our boys finally recreate the soup. But that was just a tutorial level shit. I think now is as good time as any to talk about Brad Bird and what really sets his Pixar movies apart from the rest of the pack. So, obviously, I think The Incredibles and Ratatouille are the two best Pixar movies, by a long shot. And as I've said numerous times before, it's because in sharp contrast to most other Pixar films, they feel like they were written specifically for adults. Brad Bird writes films intended to be enjoyed by adults first and kids second, because he doesn't believe that animation is a genre. That would imply that everything from Samurai Jack to Rick and Morty to Caillou all falls under the same genre and is accordingly very similar, which, can I just say,
Well, it's a little bizarre to have in the same category Shaun the Sheep nominated alongside Anomalisa, the new Charlie Kaufman existential drama. So that animated category is a little bit of a joke.
Well, if it's animated, then it doesn't matter.
Well, that's like then don't have Best Picture. Like, all these movies are so completely different. Like, if you're gonna have Best Animated, then you have to have subcategories for that too. I don't know. It's a bunch of nonsense.
Actually, true. Very weird thought. Like, animated has like one category where
now, for the longest time, I didn't
like all
understand
genres
what
are
made him so
okay as
aggro
long as
about
it's
this
animated. But then
terminology
Best
conflict.
Picture,
When you consider how
Best Comedy,
totally
Best
distinct
Horror,
The
like there are
Incredibles
genre
and Ratatouille are from
differentiations.
other
It's
Pixar
very weird.
movies, it starts to make sense. And believe me, I'm not trying to disparage the other Pixar movies. They're also great. Pre-Cars 2 Pixar movies are great and thematically rich and tell intricate, fantastic stories, but Incredibles and Ratatouille just take things to the next level. In Incredibles, we're dealing with a man going through a realistic midlife crisis, a woman being realistically concerned about her husband having an affair, a man committing genocide on a group of so-called super individuals that he was shunned by, an attempted suicide, and a Schrodinger's cat-like discussion about the nature of a thumbtack that simultaneously does or does not exist.
I'm trying to argue with people on Twitter.
Incredibles
I guess if
2
they like it, they like it.
is not very good, but even that movie operates in the same fashion sometimes. There's a lot of intelligent conversations about giving up our freedoms and desire to do things ourselves out of the sake of convenience and some other stuff, I assume. But see, this is what Brad Bird does. He gives adults a ton of ideas to think about. He writes all of his movies as if they are primarily intended for an adult audience. There's a difference between putting thought-provoking adult themes in your animated movie and putting in lame pop culture references to keep adults from falling asleep.
Are you not entertained?
No. There's a difference between putting wild sexual themes or alcohol in your movie because it fits the tone, and doing this.
He won 3 piston cups. He did what in his cup?
Ugh. Ratatouille decides to start delivering the goods in a number of different ways, starting with Colette literally calling out the patriarchy and how hard it is for a woman to succeed in a culinary setting. This is a concept I would have loved to see explored more, especially considering how much of an asshole Skinner is. It wouldn't be out of place to make him more sexist and less respectful of Colette's contributions to the kitchen, but I guess that would have made the movie more depressing and a little too real. So the way they move on from it is fine. Skinner's enough of an asshole, as we can see by him exploiting Gusteau's image in order to sell microwave burritos. I didn't know what any of this meant as a kid. I just thought it was funny when all the Gusteaus talked to Remy later on. This is such a bizarre plot thread to put in your kids movie, unless you weren't making a kids movie at all. See what I mean when I say this movie was written for adults? Skinner is presented as a greedy, money-grubbing opportunist who completely lacks any artistic integrity, opting instead to exploit the image of his famous deceased friend. He's a big ol' sellout, except it's worse because he's not even selling out with his own image. He's using a dead man's image to further his frozen food business pursuits. He's honestly way more evil than I ever gave him credit for as a kid, and the fact that Brad Bird snuck this under our 9-year-old noses is such a testament to how much better his movies are for adults than they are for kids. But Bradley isn't done with his adult themes yet. Suddenly, Gusteau apparently had an affair, and Linguini is his offspring? What? Plus, we get Colette telling us about all the apparent serial killers who work in this kitchen.
I killed a man with this thumb.
Again, I had no idea what she was talking about when she said this one guy fooled around with the circus ringmaster's daughter, or how this other guy ran guns for the resistance. The only thing I understood here was,
I killed a man with this thumb.
Honestly, this is where some of the missed opportunities in the script start to present themselves. I really wish these chef boys could have been fleshed out more, since their backstories are honestly really fun and entertaining. There's this one guy, LaRousse, who has so much personality despite never saying a word. When Linguini first captures Remy and asks if he should kill him now, we get LaRousse maliciously nodding in the background. But as Skinner tells him to take the rat outside, LaRousse's smile fades and he extinguishes the fire. What a letdown. But then later on, when Linguini becomes president of Gusteau's and stops frozen food production, LaRousse finally gets his chance to commit arson on all the Gusteau standees. Look how happy he is to set property on fire. What a lad. This is some nice attention to detail with his characterization, and it really makes makes me wish these guys had more characterization. I want to know more about them and see them functioning as a unit. Colette also somewhat
Eliminate
disappoints me
opponents
as
at
she's
brutal
ultimately just a
bastion.
tool for Linguini's development. It's nice to see the two of them connect over time, similarly to how Linguini and Remy connected, though I guess not exactly the same way. Yeah! But ultimately, I feel like her character is pretty bare bones, and maybe they should have gone further with the overcoming the patriarchy angle. Though, something tells me this wouldn't have flown at Pixar at the time, so I guess we just gotta work with what we got. Colette at least manages to provide an interesting wedge between Linguini and Remy, and it's a good setup. It all starts when someone asks, "What is wrong?
You.
What did you say?
What's going on? Customers. What should I tell them?
I don't know, man. Why are you asking me?
I told them what is wrong.
Skinner sees this as an opportunity to sabotage Linguini's success by giving him
Prime
the
lo.
most rancid-ass recipe in existence. Like,
Mate
this shit
koranganano?
calls for seahorse radish, toenail clippings, you gotta drop it in the toilet. Oh my god, it's just horrible. I really like Remy's body language when Colette is reading the recipe. He's like, oh shit, how am I gonna salvage it? Salvage it, he does. Remy improvises a brand new version, guiding Linguini all around the kitchen in a dynamic,
I don't know what I
tension-filled
expected, but
cooking quest. But Colette, who's always preached the value of following Gusteau's recipes, shuts Remy's ideas down and delivers the shitty-ass chum bucket version. But before she can add the seahorse radish, Remy swoops in with the Krabby Patty secret ingredient, and oh my god, it's just so exciting. Pixar movies often have life or death scenarios with a ton of tension and adrenaline, but this movie manages to capture those same feelings just by showing us a battle of wits between two brilliant chefs, with Linguini caught in the middle. It's a tremendous accomplishment. So yeah, Remy's gambit pays off and he and Linguini enjoy a night of success. Remy gets to take a well-earned break, while Skinner gets Linguini drunk as hell. A perfect cap-off to the most explicitly adult portion of the film. Now's as good time as any to catch up with our Rat King. Returning to the B-movie conundrum, the trade-off of not having Remy talk to Linguini is the fact that he hasn't really talked that much for the past 30 minutes. So it's maybe a little jarring to pick up his storyline with his family again after we just experienced a long stretch of time where he's staying silent and interacting with Linguini. But despite being initially a bit weird for the film to shift gears like this, it quickly becomes apparent what a great plot thread this is. At this point, Remy is living it up and he ain't gonna stop. He's found a place where he really belongs, and by reintroducing his family here, it becomes clear that his sensibilities and desires never really coincided with theirs. What initially just seems like a cute, relatively pointless scene of Remy trying to get a meal to savor food and enjoy taste sensations is actually a soft way of breaking it to Remy that he'll always be different from his family, and that they'll never really understand him or his passion. The hard way comes during his conversation with his father, who is not named in the film, but the script says his name is Django. It's probably pronounced Django, but I'm calling him Django anyway because it's fun to say. Django is absolutely dumbfounded with the idea that Remy isn't staying, which leads to an argument over what kind of rat Remy is. Here, Remy finally expresses his desire to thrive and create, rather than just take and survive. To him, surviving is not living. He wants to contribute art to the world because that is what will give him purpose and fulfillment. Maybe it's not how a rat should be behaving, but that doesn't matter to him. It's what he wants to do with his life. Honestly, I relate to Remy so hard here. Just the idea of creating something that'll impress or inspire people you don't know. The fact that you're leaving an impact on others' lives through your creations, it's just an exhilarating thought to me, and I doubt I'm the only one who thinks that. Art can and will outlive us when we're gone, which is why it's so inspiring to create and add something to this world, even if everything seems to be working against you. Remy is an extreme example, but even so, seeing his stalwart desire to overcome adversity and create against all odds and reason and logic is one of the most powerful aspects of a film I've ever seen. But of course, it doesn't gel with his father's perception of how a rat should behave. So Django tries to discourage Remy from meddling with the human world by showing him the traps and poisons humans use on rats. In typical kids movie fashion, Remy gets discouraged by this scary sight and begins to wonder if we'll ever be able to trust humans like Linguini again. Oh wait, that doesn't happen because this isn't a kid's movie. Remy actually stands firm in his belief that he can change the future and make things better between rats and humans. Because after all, change is nature. So after that, we got some fun shenanigans with Linguini being asleep and him confessing that he likes Colette and all that stuff. This is as good a time as any to say just how excellent the voice cast is. And what's really cool is that it's not just a pile of A-list celebrities thrown in there for the sake of getting butts and seats. It's just a really solid group of talented performers. I'm really glad they went with Patton Oswalt for the voice of Remy. His voice is just an exquisite fit for a snarky, yet hopeful rat. Janine Garofalo and Ian Holm bring excellent levels of manic energy to Colette. But damn, I just can't get enough of this voice. Lou Romano is an animator who just happens to be an exceptionally talented voice actor as well. Kinda like Walt Doran, who played Rumpelstiltskin. Lou Romano doesn't just voice Linguini. No. He voiced the most iconic Pixar character of all, Bernie.
Don't Bernie me. This little rat is guilty.
Romano brings such great comedic time into Linguini. It's probably my favorite performance in the movie. And the animators obviously had the time of their lives bringing this puppet-like movement to life. This is actually one of the reasons Brad Bird wanted to take over the project in the first place. He was excited by the physical comedy possibilities present with Linguini. And I think this passion definitely paid off. Okay, so the scene ends with Linguini and Colette kissing. And as a kid, I didn't realize she had pepper spray. I thought that was rat poison and that she somehow knew that Linguini was about to reveal that there's a rat controlling him. I don't know why I was so stupid as a kid. Anyway though, this newfound romance presents its own problems. Now the conflict between Remy and Colette is heightened, since Linguini resists his rat programming and takes Colette's advice more often. Remy starts feeling like he's needed less by Linguini. It's not a coincidence that this is the point in the movie where he starts stealing food from the brother and the other. The concept of stealing is synonymous with
what is
rats
that
in this
weird
movie.
bullet time
It's all they
animation?
do. And Remy, despite his father's beliefs to the contrary, is still a rat at the end of the day. And as he starts feeling more and more neglected with the human world, since Linguini is taking off without him, he starts becoming more and more in touch with his rat instincts. It's a subtle, yet neat touch, and Remy's about to steal the most important thing of his life. No! No, I wish. So, I think the next two scenes back to back really say something interesting about the pace and overall tone of this movie. But first, can I just say what a weird line this is?
Why would Linguini be filed with your will?
This used to be my office.
Huh? That doesn't answer the question, like, at all. But anyway, Remy discovers the truth about Linguini's dad. He's Gusteau's
son. Yeah, we got that when you said dad.
Yeah, he's his son. This leads to a manic chase where Skinner tries to get those documents back from Remy and hide the evidence that Linguini rightfully owns the restaurant. And I have to say, on rewatch, this scene feels a little out of place? I don't know, there's been action-y tense scenes earlier in the movie, but they all made sense since it was about a rat trying to evade danger. The old lady with a shotgun and the perils of the kitchen. They felt somewhat more grounded and they fit the tone. But something about this chase weirds me out. It's a good enough scene on its own, but it feels like maybe they go a step too far with Skinner here. Now, I definitely enjoy Skinner as a character more than most people. I think he's really funny and I like his increasing insanity and paranoia regarding I like the visual of this really short guy being constantly angry at everyone. I like how the movie doesn't actually make any jokes about him being short. It's strictly a visual comedy element. Like, I love you, Shrek, but please shut the fuck up. I don't need to hear a 17th joke about where Farquaad fights. It's not as funny as you think it is. So yeah, Skinner is a fun key player and a decent antagonist for this portion of the movie, but I kinda get the impression that this chase scene was only added because Brad This is the one part of the movie that feels like it's mainly for kids, which probably explains why it's movie. But whatever. I suppose this is a way to close out Skinner. Except not really. What I love, however, is the montage that follows this chase scene. It's like a complete 180 from what we just saw, because it feels exceptionally adult and refined. I suppose hearing the majestic and magnificent Le Festin for the first time in the film in vocal form really helps. But yeah, everything just goes right in this montage. Linguini is declared king of Gusteau's. He bans all the shameless frozen foods. He has a nice new house. He and Colette enjoy each other's company. Even Bon Voyage has turned over a new leaf and begun entertaining children. Wholesome. I feel like now is a great time to talk about the way the movie is paced and the overall tone the pacing is striving for. Way back in my animated feature ranking, I said that this movie feels like a smart indie film. But like, how so? Well, this is gonna be a little hard to describe, so bear with me. So, the thing about mainstream movies is that they are usually always goal-based. The characters need to achieve some sort of goal. In a Marvel movie, it's usually beat the villain. In a Star Wars movie, it's usually beat the villain. In a Pixar movie, it's often get from point A to point B. Andy's house, Paradise Falls, the land of the living, wherever the f they were going in Good Dinosaur. Or the goal could be something else, like get Boo home, find Nemo, find Dory. Oh wait, what? The movie was about finding Dory's parents? Well, then why the f was it called Finding Dory? Goal-based movies are important for general audiences. They need a goal in their movies that gets achieved by the end. Otherwise, they'll come out of it saying, what was the point? Now, this doesn't always pan out. Good Dinosaur had a goal that was achieved, and everyone who saw it still came out asking what the point was. But regardless, this is a concession that needs to be made with mainstream films, independent of how good many of them are. But sometimes, a filmmaker can sneak a movie into the mainstream without a goal. 1.5 Pixar movies come to mind in this one. First up, Toy Story 2. Part of the reason this is easily the best Toy Story movie and anyone who takes different lines of themselves is because half of the movie doesn't have a set in stone goal. Buzz and the toys are trying to get Woody back. That's a goal. Good for them. But Woody, despite initially attempting to escape, slowly starts to rethink his position and what it means to be a toy in general, leading to a lot of slower, more introspective and emotionally moving sequences where he just talks to the other toys around him. This stuff is absolutely phenomenal, and it's what makes the movie work so well. As a kid, I loved the Buzz stuff and thought the Woody stuff was pretty good, but as an adult, it's the other way around. I have fun with Buzz and the gang's misadventures, but it's the Woody storyline that really hooks me, because it feels independent from the traditional mainstream format of many animated films. I also want to mention The Incredibles, which follows this more indie format for the first half of the movie, before transitioning quite masterfully into a more goal-based superhero finale. But the one Pixar movie that sticks to an indie formula all the way through, the one that isn't afraid to tell a more unconventionally structured story than its peers, is Cars 2. I'm not gonna finish that. No. Anyway, before returning to Rat Patootie, let's talk about indie structure. Independent art house films are much more free with what they can do. They don't need to worry about alienating the audience. I came here to be alienated, damn it. I want a rich cinematic experience I could tell my grandchildren about. I need something more real. Many indie movies are just about life. It's not clear what the end goal is, if there's even any at all. It's just a matter of showing us a slice of life. And as a result, you don't have to follow a rigid system of progression like they do in mainstream movies. Captain America can't be at a shopping mall checking out computers, and then suddenly the scene changes to a secret Nazi bunker with a German scientist whose brain is in a computer. We need to know how those two scenes connect to each other, and why he visited Silverdrag-N. The plot is the primary focus. We need to know why he is where he is at all times. But in an indie movie, oftentimes, we're just watching life unfold. No obvious rhyme or reason between how certain scenes connect. We're just shown glimpses of what life is like for a certain person. Okay, so easy example, Lady Bird. One of my top 5 favorite movies of all time. And it really doesn't have a point. We're just following the main character throughout the high school. Watching her conflict with her mother, her experience with friends, her falling out and reconciliation with her best friend. All of that is captured within 94 minutes of runtime. An entire year filled to the brim with emotional, relatable, wholesome content. It only took 94 minutes for this movie to change many people's lives, including mine. And I feel like it's because the movie isn't tethered to a strict plot. It can focus on character, and it feels well paced as a result. Now, this format takes a really skilled writer to pull off, or else it can become bloated and boring and not very good at all. But when it works wonders. I can't name how many seemingly plotless movies over the past few years have managed to leave an incredible impression on me. And now, we finally come back to Ratatouille. What is the goal here? Remy wants to cook. That's it. And guess what? He gets his chance to cook. Right here. With the soup. By all means, that's the end of the story if we're adhering the goal-based story structure. Okay, wait. Maybe he wants to cook consistently and not just that one time. Well, now he is cooking consistently with Linguini. 55 minutes in, the goal has been completed. But the movie keeps going because there are characters to flesh out, new storylines, new struggles that continue to pop up over time. That's just how life is. Ratatouille is the only Pixar movie that just centers around characters living life, encountering new struggles and hardships as they go on living. And that's why this is the most sophisticated Pixar movie ever made. Its scenes don't flow one after the other within a consistent plot. They just showcase these people cooking, deepening bonds, discovering things about each other, and so much more. It's unclear how much time passes between each scene, and I love that, because it makes the movie feel more authentic. Like we're actually watching glimpses of these people's lives, and not just a journey starring movie characters. This sort of pacing style isn't unprecedented in animation. Studio Ghibli films generally follow this format, for instance, and oh, what do you know? They're generally considered the pinnacle of animation in general by a lot of people. But Ratatouille represents that one spectacular instance where Pixar decided to take a bold risk and create a movie that didn't adhere to the mainstream story structure. A movie with a more refined, adult tone than any of its contemporaries. A movie that would only grow in esteem over the years before finally blossoming into one of their most beloved and respected. A true cinematic masterpiece. But this movie still needs a climax and a rather unconventional new villain. At this point in the story, the true antagonist begins to manifest. And believe me, Skinner tried his best, but it's not him. It's ego. No, not that ego. Ego with a small e. Ego permeates all of the main characters and drives the conflicts they have with one another. It's exceptionally hard to achieve success without some level of arrogance eventually seeping in. When Linguini finds out he's part of the illustrious Gusteau lineage, ego begins to set in. Suddenly, he believes that he doesn't need Remy to succeed anymore. He resents being treated like a puppet, and he'd rather listen to Colette's advice from now on. Linguini completely forgets who it was that got him to the place he's at today. That's ego. Remy, on the other hand, gets mad at Linguini for not acknowledging his contributions to both of their success. But Linguini can't physically acknowledge him outside of calling him the little chef in his head, which sounds quite bizarre to the average person. Even so, Remy expects all the acknowledgement for Linguini's triumphs, ignoring the fact that Colette did play a significant role in helping both of them along. He gets furious that Linguini would dare to call Colette his inspiration as a chef. That's ego. And finally, we have Anton Ego himself. He is absolutely furious with the idea that Gusteau's is popular again, despite the scathing review he gave it years ago. He's convinced that he is the utmost authority on all things cuisine, and that his reviews and perspectives are gospel. And now we have the masses overturning the ruling of the gospel. Why? Heresy. So much so that Ego has to rise from his confrontation and deliver one last death blow to the restaurant that he alone is allowed to determine the success or failure of an entire restaurant. That's evil. And so the critic arrives in person to warn Linguini of his impending call-out post. Gusteau's is going to be hashtag canceled for sure. So the pressure is on for both Linguini and Remy, and their ego-driven conflict reaches a boiling point. Remy, who's fed up beyond belief with Linguini, makes a hasty decision and invites his family to steal food. He feels rejected by the human world, so he gives in to his rat instincts. And when Linguini comes to apologize and discovers the heist in progress, he's totally right to get angry. It's such a harsh betrayal, and you can see the guilt on Remy's face. It's clear that he regrets acting so rashly, but at this point, it's too late. So here we have a pretty natural main character splitting up loved ones. It's not based on any tedious misunderstandings or liar reveals. It stems from a legitimate betrayal. And I think it works really well, even if it is an overused trope. But it's really heartwarming when Remy and Linguini reunite because they need each other. Remy is done pretending he's finally ready to Linguini is done pretending he knows literally a single thing about fine dining and breathing. Together they reveal the truth to everyone in the kitchen. Oh yeah, I forgot Remy got captured by Skinner. Honestly, this kind of feels like a waste of